this is how the while loop executes. So after the initialization, it tests the condition. And same with the for statement, statements inside the loop will only be executed if the condition is true. So which means that this one will execute if the condition is true. And after executing this statement or these statements, it goes back to checking the condition. And we keep on repeating this process until the condition here becomes false. Okay, hope it's clear. And now we move on the to an example on how we could make use of the while statement. So let's have this problem. Write a program using while loop that will accept a number and display it five times. So here's a simple problem that helps us or that um, makes us use of the while statement. So the problem states that we are going to make a program that will accept a number. Okay, take note that it will accept a number. It will accept any number, and with that number, with that value entered by the user, we are going to display it five times. So how will the program look like? Now, since we are we are going to use a while statement, this becomes a very short program. So how would this look like? Now we have, of course, to include our directive IOStream. Then we have using namespace std. We use the standard namespace. Then we have the main function declaration. So we say integer main. And we have here um the main function declaration. So curly braces. Now, since we need to accept a number, that means we need to have a floating point here. Okay, that is for the number because the problem doesn't say that we need to accept an integer value. Okay, it says that it would accept a number. So the number here could be any number, be it an integer value or a real number value. So here we are going to make use of a float data type so that it could accept any kind of value. So, and we are going to name it number or NO, and it with a semicolon. Now, since we are going to display it five times, we need to set another variable that would count how many times that number was printed. Okay, so we say integer the value of C, wherein C is our counter, and we are going to um initialize it to have a value of 1. Okay, so C is equals to 1. Now, what we are going to do is we need to um, ask the user for the number that we are going to print. So we say cout, enter a number, it's always best for us to make our program a bit user friendly, or giving instructions to user on what to do would still be recommended. Then here we let the user input the value of that number, and we now make use of the while statement. And in our while statement, it says here that based on the syntax, we say while. Now, the initial value for our C is equals to 1. So which means that for our condition to be true, take note that the statement inside the loop will only be executed if the condition is true. So here, to make it true and for us to be able to display the number 5 times, we have to make use of C less than or equal 5. Now, what comes after that is cout the value of the number, and we have to increment the counter by 1, and we say return 0, and we end our program. So we end our program here. Now, do you think that this program of ours is correct? Technically, this doesn't have any syntax error, but this will display the value entered infinitely, because here with the code that we have written, it's only cout, it's only this line. This is the only line that is part of your loop. And why is that? Because there is no curly braces after the loop. So we have not defined the statements inside the loop. And when we don't enclose these statements inside curly braces, what happens is the statement just below the while statement is the only statement that belongs to the loop, or it's the only statement that is part of the loop. So in this case, since we don't have curly braces, it will only execute cout and the number, cout number. So it would be executing that multiple times because the value of the counter will not change. the value of C will not change. And in order for us to fix that, we need to put curly braces here. And with this, C++ now is a part of the loop. So we can now control the value of our counter. So let's try to trace this one. Okay, it is very important. Take note, it is very important that after creating or writing your program, you have to trace it. You have to put values into those lines, into those variables, and test if it will be able to run as desired. Okay, so here we have a variable float, or rather a variable number with a data type float, and we have an integer with variable C having a value of 1. The next line here, we have enter a number. So let's say, for example, we enter 27.5, okay, for variable number. Now, we have a condition here. Is the value of C, which is 1, that is defined here, is it less than or equal 5? So is 1, technically it's just substitution. Is C, which is 1, less than or equal 5? The condition here is true. Okay, the condition is true. Again, we say that statements inside the loop will only be executed if the condition is true. So here we have, is C less than or equal 5? The condition here is true. So since it's true, what do we do here? We execute the statement inside the loop. And the first statement inside the loop is, it's a cout statement. It says cout the value of that number. So it displays 27.5. Okay, after executing that, it executes the next statement inside the loop. And what is that? It's the incrementation of the variable C. So here we have C++, or it's simply C is equals to C plus 1. So here we are adding 1 to variable C. And with this operation, the value of C now becomes 2 because of the current value of 1. So C becomes 2. After incrementing the value of C here, we go back, or we loop back to the condition. We test the condition. And what's the condition now? Again, by substitution, C less than or equal 5. What's the value of C? C is 2. So is 2 less than or equal 5? The condition here is true. Since it's true, we again execute the statement inside the loop. And what is that again? It says cout the value of the number. The number here does not change. Okay? So we are still going to display 27.5. And after that, we increment the value of the counter by 1. And the counter now becomes 2 plus 1, which would give us a value of 3. And we loop back to the condition and we test. Is the value of C, which is 3, less than or equal 5? The condition here is still true. So since it's true, we display the value of the number. It displays again 27.5. And after that, we increment again the value of the counter by 1. So counter, which is 3, add 1, counter now becomes 4. And 4, going back to the condition, it makes the condition true. Why? Because 4 is less than the value of 5. So since it's true again, we display the value of the number, and again it displays 27.5. And after that, We increment again the value of the counter by 1. Counter becomes what? Counter becomes 5. And when we look back, the value of the counter is not less than 5. It is equal 5, but the condition is the value of C, which is 5, less than or equal 5. So the condition here is still true. Again, when the condition is true, we execute the statement inside the loop. So, since the condition is true there, we display 27.5. And this is the 5th time that we were able to display the value of the number, which is 27.5. After displaying the value of the number, we increment the value of our counter by 1. From the previous value 5, we increment it by 1, we add 1. Our counter now becomes 6. So, when we loop back, we test the condition. Is the value of C, which is 6, less than or equal 5? The condition now is false. And since it's false, we exit from the loop, executing the next statement outside the loop, which is return 0, which means that we have ended our program. And with this, we were able to display the value of the number 5 times. We were what's this? How do you say this? We were successful in getting or displaying the value of the number entered by the user 5 times. So which means that we were able to answer the problem correctly. Okay? Now, next. Okay, next is, let's have another problem. Okay, write a program, again using while statement, because our focus now is the while statement. Write a program that will compute the sum of all the digits in a given wait, not digits, the sum of all positive the sum of all even numbers and display it. Okay, so we are tasked here to write a program that will compute the sum of all the even numbers, and we are to display the sum. Now, the first question here is, how many numbers are we going to process? Okay, so we are not sure of how many numbers. So we are going to ask the user how many numbers, or we keep on repeating asking the user if he or she wants to add more numbers. Okay, so let's go with the second solution. So let's have include IOStream. Then we have using namespace std. Then we have integer main. Okay, now here we say character ans or a, and we are going to set it to y. Then here um even let's kind of change this one, even integers, or rather even positive integers. Okay, so we have int, okay, the value of x, where x is our number, and we have another variable which is sum, and we are going to have an initial value of that to be 0. And we now write our program. So we say while the value of a is equal to y, small letter y, or the value of a is equal to capital letter Y, okay, then we say cout. Why does this keep on popping? We say cout enter a positive integer, though we could filter that one, we could filter this one, but let's do it in a way that the user would really be able to understand what a positive integer is. So we have cout, and we have seen the value of x. Okay, and we test if x modulo of 2 is equal to 0. So here we get the remainder of a number divided by 2, and if the remainder is 0, that means that that number is an even number. So when the condition here is true, we say sum plus equal number, or simply it is sum is equal to sum plus number. So this is the meaning of this line. Okay, then we close this one, and after we say cout the value of the sum, then we have return 0, and we close. Okay, so now let's try to what's this? Let's try to trace our program or the program that we have created here. So character A is equals to Y. We have variable sum and X and variable sum. So here, while the value of A is equal to small letter y, or the value of A is equal to capital letter Y, for a while, uh, we still need, um, sorry, we still need a cin statement here for the value of A. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Okay, so we have, if the condition is true, we let the user enter a positive integer. So, say for example, the user entered 75. Okay, is 75 modulo of 2 equal to 0? So, is 75 divided by 2? Does it get or does it have a remainder of 0? The condition is false. So, since it's false, we don't add this up to the sum operation. Okay? We don't include that to the sum, but instead, it execute the next statement, which is cin a value of A for a value of A. So, um, here we could have, we let the user input an answer to which we would like to input again another value or not. Here, say for example, we type Y for A and it loops back, the condition here becomes true. Okay, telling us again to input a positive integer. So let's say for example, we enter 2. So is 2 modulo of 2 equal to 0? The condition there is true. Why? When we divide 2 by 2, we get a remainder of 0. So the condition becomes true and we add that number to sum, and sum now becomes 2. And we ask the user again, do you want to input another number? We place that answer to variable A. Say, let's say for example, we typed again Y for A, and when it loops back here, the condition becomes true. And we let the user again input another value. Say the user entered 10. So is 10 modulo of 2 equal to 0? The condition is true again. So we add 10 to variable sum, wherein sum has a current value of 2. So what we do is we add the current value to the value of the number, which is 10, and sum becomes 12. And we let the user again input a value for A. And let's say, for example, the user entered n for variable A. When it loops back, the condition becomes false. Why? A is not equal to n because the value of A is y. So y is not equal to n, and the value of capital Y is not equal to n. So both condition becomes false. It gets out from the loop and execute the next statement outside that, which is the displaying of the value stored on variable sum. And what's the value that is stored on sum? It's the value 12. And after that, we exit from our program with a return 0, which means that we were successful, or the program was successfully executed. Okay, are there questions? Okay, thank you for listening and for watching this video.